I'm very excited to present the second and last portion of these 3 days of culminating experience presentations that the student from the master at the Berkeley Global Jazz Institute have prepared. And again, I would like to remind everybody that the commencement is tomorrow at 4 o'clock, as well as the final concert. Everybody's invited. Also for the people that are new, the format for this presentation is the student present 20 minutes about of their final project, and then we open a session with the committee of a comment and questions about what they presented. I'm very, very happy and glad to present the next presenter. Please welcome Jas Kayser. Thank you. Jas is an actor, drummer, and musician in Boston, New York, and London. She's originally from England and studied contemporary writing and production as an undergraduate at Berkeley. She has played with artists like Ralph Peterson, Luciana Souza, Dana Arizon, and in venues such as Colors, Riles, Rock Music Hall. And she also was part of the group that we brought to the Panama Jazz Festival back in January with the Berkeley Global Jazz Institute ambassador. And she also played at the Next Generation Monterey Jazz Festival this last year. She leads her own band, Jazz and Chums, which is an international collective of musicians from Belgium, Israel, and the United States, and the United Kingdom. Please welcome Jas again. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Marco. Legend.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here. Hope you had a nice lunch. So welcome to my project. It's called The Unforced Rhythm of Grace. So what is the Unforced Rhythm of Grace? My project objective is basically to question what that means. What is the impact of the Unforced Rhythm of Grace? Is there a formula to that? And what if it is successful? Like, what next, basically? So today I want to present to you the process of my analysis of musicians whose music I connect to and why, and specifically musicians who use music as a tool for social activism. And the idea for me was to develop my craft and social awareness to be able to improve the quality of other people's lives, especially people who are not naturally drawn to music or attracted to music in any way, and also to influence the younger generation to have a positive impact on society through music or using music. So I'll cut right to the music. The first tune I wrote for this is called Fella's Words, and it's inspired by this man, Fela Kuti. And I feel that in his music, it really reflects the dynamics of his emotional life and his personal interactions with society and his environment. So I'm really inspired by that. And there's one particular interview that I heard through doing research, which I have here. I used, for the first tune, I used a snippet of this interview where he's talking about representing the idea of what you want your environment to be through your music. So I'll just play that to you.
As an artist, politically, artistically, the whole idea about your environment must be represented in the music, in the arts. So really, art is what is happening at a particular time of a people's development or underdevelopment, see.
Yeah, Fela Kuti, everybody. So yeah, after being inspired by kind of researching a bit about him and listening to his interviews, I decided to focus on the groove aspect of his music and use that to write this first tune. So a bit of research I did on groove to kind of find more of an explanation for what it means to groove is when we groove or the music grooves, you can feel the emotional interpretation as a listener, player, or a dancer. And this is literally when the computational stem in the brain has extracted information about when the beats are supposed to occur in the music. So this is your schema, which is the model of constant pulse that you've created in your brain. So therefore, in the live music situation, or when you listen to music in your headphones, or whatever it is, you have your schema, and you can recognize when the musicians are deviating from that, and we react to that emotionally, basically, when you like a piece of music. So essentially, the music communicates to us emotionally through systematic violations of expectation, which I think is a really cool quote from Daniel Levitin. And that's kind of what I, through research, have realized you could summarize as improvisation. I think that's why people love to play improvised music and listen to improvised music. So yeah, the groove moves the song forward, and also a good groove in a song invites us into a sonic world that we don't want to leave, I think, where the external time kind of stops and the only thing is moving is the music in the moment. So for this first tune, I'm really inspired by African rhythms and African music, and I really like the idea how, well, I think when a groove is most contagious, for me at least, I feel like it's when you can feel it in many different ways, you know. You can feel the 4/4 or the 3/4 at the same time. I mean, a lot of time you can feel like 3 or 4 different tempos or rhythms going on. So I used a traditional rhythm from Guadeloupe called the Pajan Bell in 3/4, which is the top one. It goes da 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 da. But I wanted to add like another feel to it and see what it feels like in 4. Da 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 da. So basically put those two together. Got some percussion chums together to make this happen. Thank you, Natalia, for this great selfie. Yeah, this was a really amazing process, and I kind of had an idea of what I wanted everyone to play on paper, but we got together and got the grooves. I wrote an intro, call and response for everybody, and then we worked together to create like an individual, their individual voices playing the rhythm that I wanted to get across. So here's the first tune, so you can hear that.
As an artist, politically, artistically, the whole idea about your environment must be represented in the music, in the arts. So really, art is what is happening at a particular time of the people's development or underdevelopment.
Oh, Milena. Just before we move on, I just want to give a shout out to the musicians so you know who you're listening to. We've got Aaron on bass and Milena on trumpet, Ron on keys, and Juan on percussion. I'm playing drums. Yep. So, why should anybody care about music, let alone rhythm and drumming? So I guess I've come up with some things. It's one of the most powerful tools for change, social activism. So for example, we live in a beta world where we work fast and there's a lot of multitasking. And the downside to this is that it makes you susceptible to the feelings of anger and fear and worry, which is obviously not a great way to live. But we need balance to live a healthy life. So it's proven that even a drumming session can double your alpha brainwave activity, where the brain changes from beta waves, which is the more focused and intense part, to alpha waves, producing feelings of euphoria and well-being, where you're in a better state of calmness, positivity, and more mind-body integration. And also, music is connected to your personal life. And I guess music is a way of connecting and exposing you to your true beliefs and reinforcing what you already know intuitively. And it's actually proven because drumming and movement creates a sync in your brain, where the lower part of the brain, that's non-verbal, integrates up into the frontal lobe, where you think and where your personalities develop. So therefore it solidifies certainty and influences your understanding of what is true to you. So thank you, music. This next tune I did right, it's called Coup Variation, and it's inspired by two of my favourite African drummers. The first guy, Babatunde Olatunji, who actually released the first two albums of African drumming in America, and Brice Wassi, especially his tune and groove called Coup Jazz, which is a rhythm in 5/4. And so the first thing I was thinking about for this one was what is rhythm, and found this amazing quote, again by Daniel Levitin, saying, "Rhythm is a game of expectation. Rhythms are memorable, and we tend to organize sounds into memorable rhythms." And another amazing explanation I found for this is that the relationship between the length of one note to another is the crucial part of what turns sound into music, which I find really amazing. So for example, if the rhythm is really syncopated, it creates excitement. But this is because it's hard to predict or memorize where many of these notes are going to be placed. So it creates that kind of intense excitement. Just as like when a song is fast, it's generally happy, and when it's slow, it's generally sad. Which is obviously a generalization, but you know, that's the vibe. And it's and I'm also very fascinated by the idea that you can kind of use any ratio to create music. There's any possibility, like 2/1, 4/1, 7/4, 5/4. But obviously there are limitations to what we can perceive and remember. So to connect to a vast majority of people, I think you need to find something that everybody can relate to and groove to and feel. So this is this tune that's based on exploring that rhythm, and I use a lot of the rhythm based on Brice Wassi's tune. But yeah, I really like this because I feel it's exciting and uplifting due to the kind of push and pulls of the accents of the chords. They're all kind of displaced in different places, and some of the accents are like more short, and some of them are, like longer, more intense kind of accent. But here's that tune. Um, so the third tune I wrote for this project is inspired by Lionel Lueke, and it's called Lueke. And the quote that inspired me to work on kind of recreating his legacy in a way, or is when he said, "It's beyond the music, it's the spirit, it's the human nature." And I feel that he's a true master at combining his musical roots from Africa and kind of his studies of jazz in Europe and America. And he really uses those influences to portray kind of his message through his music. So that's really inspiring. And I also kind of wanted to explore the idea that anyone can experience and benefit from music in a spiritual and life-changing way, whether you play or don't do music or whatever. Sorry. So yeah, this quote, again by the man Daniel Levitin, is neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to reorganize itself. So based on research, it's proven that playing an instrument requires the orchestration of regions in our primitive and reptilian brain, which is the cerebellum, and the brainstem. And the cerebellum is also involved in emotion. So for example, there is activation in the cerebellum when listening to music, but not when listening to noise. And also it's activated when we listen to music we like versus music we don't like. So I was really left with the question of why does emotion and movement have a connection being served by the same region of the brain? And I kind of went back to the point from the Fela Kuti slide about the idea that drumming and movement creates a sync in your brain, where you think and where your personalities develop. So therefore the music kind of influences your understanding of what is true to you. So I think that's really fascinating and definitely a way to connect to a lot of people. So this is the tune Lueke, and again kind of exploring the Abakwa thing with the 6/8 clave, but kind of combining 12/8 and 9/8 together, which kind of creates the clave in 7/4, basically. But I'll play that. Thank you. Thank you. So I've gotten to the last tune of the project that I wrote called Feel It, which was inspired by this guy, Tony Allen, who's basically the creator of most Afro beat grooves that we hear today. He played with Fela Kuti in the 70s. And I really feel that he holds Fela Kuti's legacy still today, because he's still playing and writing music now. And he's also kind of the reason for my connection to Afrobeat, which is now one of the main things I like to focus on. So this project was very much inspired by my curiosity to understand why I'm so affected by this music, and why I feel such a connection to this music. So firstly, I just transcribed a few of his grooves from his album Home Cooking, and that was fascinating. But the groove that this tune is based on is actually the top one on the second page, a kind of like a variation of that, because the cool thing about most of these grooves is you can, start on beat 1 or beat 2, and kind of they're all interchangeable in that way, basically. And to do further research to kind of make this tune happen, I found that senses such as hearing, sight, smell, and movement, and speech are all connected by the firing of neurons in your brain, and the firing is usually in a rhythm. But these rhythmic cues of the neurons can actually be broken by illness, like sickness, disease, or even trauma. But however, it's proven that drumming, or even the sound of drumming, or some kind of involvement in drumming, can repair these connections, obviously to cure your sickness or something like that. And for me, Afrobeat moves my mind and body and spirit into like the perfect rhythm, So I guess my unforced rhythm of graces would probably be Afrobeat. So I wanted to write and play and share with more people so they can have the same kind of uplifting feeling and hopefully connect to music in that way too. And I also used my vocals in this one to say some stuff. Feel it, feel it. Thank you. Thank you. So to conclude, quick conclusion, is there a formula? No, absolutely not. There's no formula to like a certain type of rhythm that's going to connect to everybody, But what I find cool is that to be moved by music, it helps to have a readily predictable beat. Predictable beat. So whatever that beat is that connects to you. So I do believe that there's like music and rhythm and groove there for everybody to be able to impact, everyone. But however, it's not going to happen on its own, and you need skilled leadership or a good teacher for this kind of impact. And drums, I feel like, are the dictator or the teacher to lead this progress. I mean, everything can be, but in this scenario. And I've been inspired by everybody in Global, in life, everyone here, to realize that it's my responsibility as a musician and a drummer to use this research to make positive change in areas where it is needed. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to everybody. I'm sure I've missed like unbelievable amount of people, but this is the people heavily involved in this process. I appreciate it. Marco, Danilo, Terry, everyone, the musicians, who represent.
Jas, congratulations. Wonderful. We have about 10 minutes
Okay, sorry.
for comments. So, no, it's fine. It's fine. Terry, you want to start? Yes.
Yay! That was very nice. Enjoyed
Thank
listening
you.
to the music. It's yeah, you're right. It connects. It's like the tribal nature of all of these African-based rhythms
Hmm.
is something that connects immediately with most of us. And congratulations, you sound great on that stuff
Oh,
too.
thank you.
Yeah,
Cheers.
you're playing your butt off.
Mm.
So I had a few questions. So
Okay.
all the people that inspired you, you didn't say what countries they were from.
Oh, true.
Can you quickly tell us?
So Fela Kuti is from Nigeria, and Tolian is also from Nigeria, and I actually can't remember the name of where Lionel Lueke is from.
It's from Benin.
Is it-
Benin.
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 Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. West Africa.
Not Berlin, Benin.
Okay. Yeah. And Bryce Rossi is from West Africa too, but I can't remember exactly which country.
Cameroon. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's important just to go into.
Yeah.
And also the name, like as far as a footnote on your quotes from Daniel Levitin, the book name.
Oh, yes. This is Your Brain on Music by Daniel Levitin. I should have put that up there.
This is your brain on music. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I had a bunch of other questions. I'm trying to be quick. When you started with that beautiful example of the 3/4 and the 12/8, I think it would have been amazing if you had actually demonstrated it sonically, like have them both playing at the same time, and we can hear the 3 and the 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I see you. Yeah.
Just because I found myself distracted by that, doing it with my feet in my hands.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would have been cool to just hear it real quick.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's one other thing. I can't read my own writing. Well, do you plan on furthering your research? Like, how do you plan on moving this stuff into the world?
Yeah, I definitely want to just keep doing more research on this. Actually going to Panama in September to teach at Danilo's Foundation, which is going to be amazing to be able to, have an impact on some children who really, need it and could be inspired and to learn music and also have an effect on society. And also, I really want to plan some clinics in the future next year to kind of try and portray this message and reach more people.
Okay. The one other thing I'm just going to say is, though I appreciate, your perspective of what the last thing you said about the formula, can you put that, well, you don't have to put the slide back up, but you said something about the predictability of the beat
Oh, yeah, I can, yeah.
being the form. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I have to respectfully disagree with that,
okay.
but I do appreciate what you feel about it, and I think I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
But I can't say that the beat has to be predictable.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you can have other qualities that feel, I won't even use the word predictable, but that feel, that will do the same effect, that will have the same effect on the listener without it being a predictable rhythm. So something to think about. Like
True.
maybe you can find what you're calling predictability in another part of the music.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something else that makes somebody feel connected to it without the predictability. I think a lot of us, myself, Daniela, a lot of people have spent quite a bit of time actually trying to not make rhythm predictable
True.
and then
True.
still have it connect with people.
Yeah.
So it's just something else to think about. But I
Yeah.
absolutely, see, I like tribal rhythms. I like, repetitive rhythms. It makes me want to dance. I mean, I also like to dance to non-repetitive rhythms.
True.
But I don't have any problem, so I'm not saying that from an aspect of not fully engaging with a predictable rhythm, because I feel it's very tribal and it's part of our culture. But it's just not the only way.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Great
Cheers.
project.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jas.
Thanks.
First of all, it's been a big pleasure for me to work with you during this year on this project, and
Me too.
I just kind of echoing what you're about to do in Panama. I really connected with a story that you told me about the day that drumming was introduced to you. Could you tell us that story?
Yeah, there was a few different days, but there's one time in particular I was really inspired because it was when I just started having drum lessons, but in school, in a Warminster school in England, they had a percussion teacher / performer come in, and he did like some workshops for all of us. And yeah, it was really amazing. I don't know if it was a few days or if it was just one day, but yeah, it was amazing. He had everyone playing, people who had never even considered playing drums before. And then, yeah, I don't know, he's probably teaching us fairly simple rhythms so we could catch on because we were like 8 or 9 years old. But then, yeah, by the end of the day, we had a concert and a few of us got up and were allowed to play the drums, and he basically gave all of us like an individual rhythm, and it created like one big groove, and it was a really good day.
So you've been grooving for a while.
Something like that.
Just my own words, but it didn't take me long to get a sense of what you were doing. And in my words, I feel like you are articulating something. And I would say that articulation for an artist is multifaceted, but it's, I want to say, the most important thing. It is the result of our processing something from our imagination or from deep in our being, from our subconscious, and manifesting that into the world. And I feel like that's what you are doing with this work, with this process. You are articulating your very own artistic premise. And it's been a pleasure to groove with you during this year.
Cool. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah. You want-
Oh, also, I forgot to just end, my bad. But this is John Mander, he's a committee member, but he's from outside of Berkeley, but he's actually got his own business called Drumming and Wellness, and yeah, he's literally doing all of this, but in schools around Boston, and he's a great guy, so I just wanted to introduce him before he asks some questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Jas, and incredible work. So congratulations, just echoing what everyone has said so far. Also, where were you when I was writing my thesis? Are you familiar with Oliver Sacks and musicophilia and music in the brain? If you're not familiar with Oliver Sacks' Music in the Brain, then definitely check him out.
Okay.
Just from a cognitive standpoint and kind of understanding how what you're presenting may affect positively individuals who perhaps have different backgrounds in mental health, traumatic experiences, where the music in it of itself was very much a journey, in my experience, where there are rhythms that are like, whoa, what is happening here? And then boom, now I feel a sense of soothing. Now I feel a sense of calm, right? And so just to take the idea of predictability a little further, I want to say that for individuals who may have had traumatic backgrounds, it is, this is a specific audience, though it is very important for them to kind of have a sense of predictability. Then they know how, like, what is happening and how is this going to help me feel safe right now. I can say that for sure with individuals in which I've worked with in various environments. And of course, the challenge of being able to not necessarily know what things are going to come about, which actually develops critical thinking. So it does go very well with the frontal cortex and kind of organizational skills in understanding how that may come about. Let's see. So are there specific emotions that you're looking to immerse the audience in through your creations?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to make it lighthearted, but obviously, you know, happiness and all that, and being inspired and feeling good and just generally feeling positive, you know. But I think the whole idea of this project was that I like to kind of express that through music, but sometimes it comes across in a lighthearted way, you know, but it's pretty serious. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are there? Did you have any emotional encounters, you know, or what was that like for you through the creations? I think you may have mentioned earlier that there are some things that you realized for yourself and the impact that through the process that it had on you, you know, with the African rhythms and so on. So what was that like for you, or what are some things that you may have encountered for yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the music that I'm inspired by when I first hear it, it just instantly puts me in a good mood. So that's kind of the first thing that I'm affected by. And then, yeah, I guess, yeah, generally it's like uplifting music, you know. So it's kind of, if I'm writing it or when I'm going through this like project process, it's generally like yeah, find myself having to be in a good mood to be able to do it, and like, you know, putting the grooves together and putting the music together is just like it's all a very positive thing. So, yeah, I generally am just like feeling inspired and in a good mood when it's happening.
That's so good. Well, Drums and Wellness specializes in that, and so we'll be more than happy and pleased to work with you in the future.
Cool. Thank you, John.
That's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to continue this direction you established for yourself. You know, do you see yourself doing this in 20 years?
Yeah, absolutely.
In 40?
Yeah.
Until you die?
Yeah.
You will defend all this that you talk today?
Pardon?
You will defend the same values and principles you talk today?
Oh, okay. I mean, I see myself doing this kind of thing, yeah, but I'm sure it's going to, like, develop and alter and shift, you know. Yeah, that's what...
Congratulations. It's beautiful the direction you've chosen. And yes, that's a great point that he made. There is a therapeutic aspect of this that needs to be talked about it. Hopefully in Panama you get to experience that. Patricia could be very helpful in that direction. And also, let's talk about predictable beat, because I'll give you a little comment from Toni Morrison that I think could help you. She said, the world beauty, she said this, if you surrender to the air, you can ride it. I want to change that and say, if you surrender to the beat, you can ride it. So more than predictable, is life predictable? Is life full of expected experience or unexpected experiences?
True. Unexpected, that's for sure.
That's right. So when we communicate with each other, we are talking in rhythms, right? There's a whole other direction to this.
Yeah, true.
You know? And what I love about this journey you went through, you have found a way to relate to music that is, it gives you sense of vision, long term. That's why I asked that question first. The same thing I would also encourage you, when I'm hearing some of this beat, and I mentioned it to you in the recording, a lot of times we're focusing so much on what is visible, but there is an invisibility to those beats. In other words, when you go like, it's what is not there, the one that makes that beat comes alive more. So, there's an upbeat that has to be there.
Yeah.
So I will encourage you to work more in the invisible part of the beat.
Okay, yeah.
You dig?
Jas Kayser.